So on the topic of making America healthy and also, the childhood vaccine schedule, which I know I'm a conspiracy theorist for even questioning it, but I want to play for you one of my favorite. She's a doctor, but she's an author of a book that I recommend to every parent if they come to me and they're like, hey, what should I know about vaccines? This is one of the books that I recommend to them. It's called Dissolving Illusions by Dr. Suzanne Humphries. And she was just with Joe Rogan I suggest you go listen to the entirety, but here is a little bit of her exchange with Joe on vaccine testing misinformation. Watch.
The creativity of the vaccine companies expanded. So after that, they could add different, what we call adjuvants, things that stimulate the immune system so the vaccine works better. Then they start, that's why we're able to be in a messenger RNA vaccine situation today, which that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for this indemnification that, the vaccine trials have always been a bit of a joke, but they're even more of a joke today than they were in the beginning. We've never seen a vaccinated, unvaccinated study that is accepted by the powers that be as, good enough. The vaccinated, unvaccinated studies that they use another vaccine for. You probably know that. So if you're testing a measles vaccine, you could test it against a diphtheria vaccine, or a flu shot vaccine is tested against a hepatitis A vaccine. There's no saline placebo because the few studies that exist with saline placebos show how bad the vaccine actually is and how it makes you not only not respond to the disease when it comes around, but more susceptible to it in many cases.
So again, don't take it from me. Take it from a doctor much more qualified than myself. And I'm actually, I forget what her expertise is specifically. I'm going to look it up because it's like incredible. Like she knows way more than me. So am I just the crazy cuckoo conspiracy theorist? Because she's looked into this. She's the expert. She has nothing to gain, okay? She has nothing to financially gain, to gain among her coworkers and colleagues, to gain in her industry by sounding the alarm about this, because you see what they've done to everyone who has spoken out about it. How about our friend, Dr. Andy Wakefield?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing, as you know, I evolved on this after doing the movie Protocol 7. Well, actually, I first started evolving on it when the COVID vaccine came out, and all of a sudden they didn't care whether or not you had natural immunity, and then they told you that you had to vaccinate your kids even though they didn't have any symptoms. I'm like, this is just insane. Mm-hmm. But I think that one of the, like I've said to you before, that I think that one of the great things that happened with COVID is it woke a lot of people up to not just listening to what the government tells you and not just listening to what your doctor tells you, to actually ask a few more questions. And I think that, look, I mean, historically, there's a reason why they tell you, when you get your passport or whatever, you go and get a judge or a doctor or a policeman to sign. I know they certainly did that in the UK, like sign the passport. And that's because they were pillars of the community. And I think that what has happened over the years is you've had Big Pharma spend a lot of money. I mean, if you're a doctor now, you get to go to Hawaii for like a week, on the coin of like whoever it might be, Pfizer or Merck or whatever. And so there is an incentive. That's not me saying that I think that doctors are intentionally doing it, but it's kind of funneled through the medical process as they go through college, right? So I have certainly, my youngest child, all my other kids have been vaccinated. They weren't vaccinated for COVID, but my youngest child is not vaccinated purely because of this, because you start looking, and I remember the first time when I went, I had an old Jewish pediatrician in LA, and I walked in and he goes, so do you want the vaccines with the mercury or without the mercury?
And you're like,
and I'm like,
what?
They put mercury in a vaccine? I didn't know. But he was clearly like telling me like, hey, listen, I've got to tell you this, but of course you don't want to take the mercury. So I think that a lot of people are changing, a lot of people are evolving, and the fact that it's gone, if you look at the vaccine schedule, it was like 5, then this, and there's like 72, I think it is, something like that. Yep. It's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absolutely absurd. And are we getting healthier?
No, we're not. Eric, you got about a minute.
Look, yeah, that's the good thing that came from COVID, and that people are questioning the medical apparatus. I believe that in any industry, competition is great, okay? for whatever reason, they didn't like that in the science, let's say in the medical field in general. When there were folks that were out there, some of which that was ringing alarm on COVID, some of which are part of this administration right now, big shout out to Jay Buttigieg, were just questioning it. It's not even coming to the opposite position. It's just saying like, look, all of y'all are accepting it. I'm not seeing the data that supports your conclusion. You're just using the fact that you're a doctor or the fact that you have this backing or degree or what have you, and you're just presenting it as fact. But that's not what this industry is supposed to be about at all. So it's great that people are finally questioning the medical apparatus. And look, it's going to be, you start unturning a lot of those stones, it's going to be a lot of other stuff, especially regarding medical stuff that people are like, wait a minute, we were lied to for my entire life for 30 plus years? Yes.
Well, when you start,
real quick.
Okay, when you start looking at the amount of money they spend out on being sued, and nobody really talks about this, the amount of damages that they pay out, it's billions of dollars. It's a lot of money. So,
if you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.